Alright. Welcome back to my channel for another video. Today I'll be talking about which iPad to get in 2021, be it iPad 8 generation, the iPad Air 4, which has got released in the fourth quarter of 2020, or the 2020 iPad Pro. Okay, now let's get into the video. First off, let's talk about the entry-level iPad, which is the iPad 8. The iPad 8 starts at $329 ประมาณ 10,000 บาทนะครับราคาย่อมเยา and then with the cellular model you add another $130 on top of it บวกประมาณ 3-5,000 บาทนะครับตามราคา Okay, now the reason I'm discussing iPad 8 first because then I'll be doing a side-by-side comparison between the iPad Air 4 or the iPad Pro, which was released almost a year ago. Okay, now for the iPad 8 generation, it uses A12 chip, which is the same chipset as iPhone XS. That's around almost 2 to 3 years old chip, and it still has that thick bezel display, which I think most of you wouldn't want it in 2021 for a better usage experience, because if you're like me, then you wouldn't keep on changing your device. You would buy it for a long-term investment. You use it for 1 year or more, of course. Yeah, so I don't really recommend iPad 8 generation to anyone unless you're really on a tight budget. Okay, now let's compare iPad Air and the iPad Pro. Okay, let's start off at the price. iPad Air starts off at 64 gigabytes at $599, while the iPad Pro comes in at $799, which is $200 difference. And for that $200 difference, you're getting an entry at 128 GB, unlike the iPad Air 4, which comes in at 64 gigabytes. Now, for the extra $200, you're getting the storage there. Okay, now onto the chipset. For chipset on the iPad Pro 2020, you're getting the improved A12 chip, which is A12Z, a much more enhanced version. Of course, it's gonna be powerful. But when you compare it to iPad Air 4, you'll get the latest chipset from Apple, which is A14 chip, the same chipset as iPhone 12 series, which is mind-blowingly fast. Of course, that would be the better choice on paper. Okay, let's talk other price point. If you decide to add the extra cellular version on top of it, it's going to be $130 or up to $150 on top, depend on the model you're choosing. But personally, I would recommend if you're looking at storage and if you're looking for bigger storage, I would recommend to go for iPad Pro 2020 because you can spec it up to 1 terabyte, if I'm not mistaken, 1 terabyte. Which is a whole lot of storage. Okay. After that, now let's talk about the display. The difference between the display of iPad Air and iPad Pro. They both have the P3 display, liquid retina P3 display, true tone color technology. The only difference on screen in this case is ProMotion. Yes, ProMotion 120 Hz display. If you are someone who's looking for a high refresh rate screen, for a better usage experience, for on-screen touch experience and illustration experience, then the iPad Pro would be your pick. Clearly, no doubt, the iPad Pro. Now let's move on to the camera. The difference between this camera is the front camera and also the Face ID camera. The difference between these cameras will be on both the front and the back. On the back, iPad Pro, you're getting one extra ultra-wide camera for a bigger view, and you're getting the LiDAR scanner with a true tone flash. Now, if you're someone who's into architect or AR, if you really use AR in your daily usage purpose, or you think you'll come across using AR more soon, then of course the iPad Pro would be the winner in this case, no doubt. But if you're just using it for, not using AR technology, not using 3D rendering or image, or you won't be using the camera as much, then of course the iPad Air 4 would suffice. Yeah, iPad Air 4 would suffice in this scenario. Okay, now let's talk about the front camera. Surprisingly, on the front camera for iPad Pro, you can choose portrait pictures because it has the Face ID technology, unlike on the iPad Air 4, which just comes in a 7 megapixel FaceTime camera. But are you really using a lot of camera on the iPad, or are you using the camera on your phone more? Of course, it'd be the camera on your phone more, right? So is it worth the extra $200? You can gauge it out. Okay, now, bottom line is it depends on your use case scenario. If you're a student, if you're just starting your career, if you're not sure what you're gonna do yet, and if you just want to try out the iPad system, then the iPad Air 4 would be the best start right now for you to get an iPad. It comes in a good price, $599, and when you spec it up with the accessories, it doesn't cross the $1,000 threshold. Because if you're gonna use it as a single device, you're not depending on your laptop, then of course you will need the keyboard, which you have the option from Apple as Smart Folio or the Magic Keyboard, which is $200 and $300 respectively. Or you can use it third-party accessory creators. The option is all yours. They both are compatible with Apple Pencil 2 for the smooth usage experience, but a lot of people have been saying that on iPad Pro 2020, the usage experience is much better with Apple Pencil 2 because it has that ProMotion display. So if you're a digital creator, digital illustrator, if you're gonna be doing a lot of video editing, photo editing, then yeah, iPad Pro would be the best recommendation for you. So bottom line, who is it for? The iPad Air 4 is for students who are looking for a device to start off made for university, a device to use for their university life, and let's say you can do actually a lot of content creation and content editing on it. If you're gonna save a few $100 of your budget and spend it somewhere else, then definitely iPad Air 4 would be a good recommendation. But then you would have to go for, I would recommend going for 356 gigabyte for the most storage and get the accessories that you need, and it will be a decent starting point for your content creation journey. The iPad Pro, for me personally, is for pro. Yes, pro. People who are already in the industry, people who are working daily with the iPad, people who need the LiDAR scanner, like architectures, or someone who need it for 3D rendering of image, someone who would really benefit out of the usage, not just buy it because name of the Pro and not use it like a pro. That's what most people do with the MacBook Pros, and all they do is Netflix and chill. Seriously. So that brings me to the end of my video. Hope it gives you a choice of which one to get, which iPad to get for yourself. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to leave a like. It really helps support my small channel. I'm just starting out. Subscribe because that really motivates me to make more content, and I'll try to come up with content on a weekly basis. Now I'll be focusing on content on tech first. If you want like fashion and styling, then my Instagram will be the place for you. Yeah, so have a good day and hope I help you with your purchase decision.